All right, sports fans, how's everyone out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, when the season ended for the Los Angeles Chargers, they had one guy on their radar to be their next head coach, and they got him. Jim Harbaugh is leaving the University of Michigan to become the head coach of the Chargers. It's a homecoming of sorts for Harbaugh, who played 2 years of his NFL career, the tail end of his NFL career in San Diego with the Chargers. Now, Harbaugh returns to the NFL on a roll, as just a couple of weeks ago, he led his alma mater in Michigan to the national championship with a record of 15 and 0. Um, Now, previous success in the NFL, this is what Harbaugh had. You look back at those 4 years when he was the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and clearly he's coming back to the NFL because he's got some unfinished business. In those 4 years in San Francisco, Harbaugh was 44, 19, and 1. Three trips to the NFC Championship game, and of course, one Super Bowl appearance. Now, he lost to his brother John in the Super Bowl to the Baltimore Ravens. And honestly, the 49ers, they were making an epic comeback and they were within an eyelash of winning that game. So, Harbaugh definitely not only wants to get back to the big game, but clearly he wants to win it. Now, in going to the Chargers, Harbaugh inherits a loaded team already. And just by him signing his name on the dotted line, this team just got a lot better. You think about Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert is one of the better younger quarterbacks in the National Football League. And when you think about Jim Harbaugh, you think about his work with his quarterbacks. Um, in 4 years as a Charger starting quarterback, Herbert is 30 and 32, 114 touchdown passes to 42 interceptions, and he has a completion percentage just over 66 and a half. And of course, Herbert has one postseason appearance to his credit, and it wasn't pretty for the Chargers. Of course, they blew that game last year against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is something that Jim Harbaugh is definitely going to look to clean up. Defensively, there's a lot of talent there. You're talking about Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, and Asante Samuel Jr. And of course, the Chargers do have some cap issues as of right now, but will guys restructure? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, things just got very interesting in the AFC West because we already saw the Denver Broncos hire Sean Payton as their head coach last year. We know that Andy Reid is the king of the frat house right now with what he's doing with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Raiders just hired Antonio Pierce. So, Antonio Pierce is basically the newbie in the room, if you will. And then, of course, the Chargers bringing in Jim Harbaugh. And no disrespect to Antonio Pierce, he doesn't have the cachet that the three coaches that he's going to be competing with in that division currently have. Sean Payton, he led the New Orleans Saints to their only Super Bowl championship in franchise history. Andy Reid is a two-time Super Bowl winner, and his Chiefs are playing in the AFC Championship game this Sunday. And of course, I just talked about some of the accolades, not even all of them, that Jim Harbaugh brings to the table. So things just got a lot more interesting in the AFC West. Make no mistake about it, the Chargers are going to be much more relevant, and this is definitely going to help them with ticket sales at SoFi Stadium. But on the other side of the Harbaugh ledger, him leaving Michigan should help that school with their NCAA investigation because that NCAA investigation is heating up. And maybe now that Harbaugh has decided to exit stage right after, leading the Wolverines to the national championship, maybe the NCAA might cool it off. We got to wait and see. I think that some penalty will definitely come to Michigan. Yes, how much? We just have to wait and see. But I feel like the timing was right for Harbaugh because you figure, number one, there wasn't anything else for him to prove at Michigan. He turned things around. He got the Michigan brand back because if you remember, that gap between Lloyd Carr and Jim Harbaugh was not good for Michigan football. Rich Rodriguez was supposed to be the guy to keep it going. There was a clash from day one. Michigan went back to one of their old assistant coaches and Brady Hoke. And, Brady did have some success, but definitely not enough. You bring back Jim Harbaugh, and with the exception of 2020, never had a losing season at Michigan. He struggled against Ohio State and Urban Meyer initially, but then he turned that thing around against Ryan Day in the last 3 years. And of course, subsequently, once Michigan was able to get over that Ohio State hump, they started winning the Big Ten championship again, getting to the college football playoff. And this year, they finally broke through in the college football playoff, and the rest is history. But for Michigan, they're going to pivot now to Sharon Moore to be their next head coach. And it's all about that transition period now. And of course, we saw season, and of course, a lot of that was on emotion, even from Sharon Moore. And, a lot of that was, fueled by the senior leadership on this team. Now, one thing you can say about Sharon Moore, he's a heck of a recruiter. And I will say this: I think Michigan football is in good hands, in my opinion, because if you go back to when Jim Harbaugh left Stanford in favor of the 49ers, David Shaw, took his place. And for a very long time, Stanford football under David Shaw was one of the top programs, not just in the Pac 12, in the nation. And there were a lot of people out there that expected Stanford to take a step back once Harbaugh left. No. David Shaw was able to keep the machinery going for quite some time, which included winning multiple Pac 12 championships and sending a litany of players to the National Football League, most notably Christian McCaffrey. Of course, Andrew Luck was somebody that came to Stanford under Harbaugh. And getting back to the quarterback aspect for Harbaugh, you think about some of the quarterbacks that he's coached over the years. I just mentioned Andrew Luck at Stanford, going to the 49ers, drafting Colin Kaepernick, getting to an NFC championship game with Alex Smith, and then getting to a Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick as his quarterback. Then, with what he was able to do at Michigan, until he finally found his guy in JJ McCarthy at quarterback. And then, of course, the rest is history. But from a Big Ten standpoint, I guarantee you that Ryan Day and James Franklin are more than happy to see Jim Harbaugh leave Ann Arbor, because Ryan Day has had tremendous success at Ohio State. But of course, when you're at Michigan, it's all about beating Ohio State. And when you're at Ohio State, it's all about beating Michigan. And you think about it, the only thing, of course, Ohio State made the college football playoff last year, but the only thing that has limited, or prevented rather, the Buckeyes from winning the Big Ten over the last 3 years has been that game at the end of the season against Michigan. And of course, the folks in Columbus are not thrilled because, Jim Tressel had turned things around and gotten that rivalry back on the right track as far as the folks in Ohio State are concerned. And then, of course, Urban Meyer kept the machinery going. But we know how it was between as far as this Michigan Ohio State rivalry went in the 90s, when Gary Moeller was the head coach, and then Lloyd Carr going up against John Cooper. And of course, John Cooper's inability to beat Michigan subsequently cost him his job there. So, a lot of people are talking about, 3 years in a row not being a good thing for Ryan Day. So maybe, just maybe, Jim Harbaugh leaving is just what he needs to get Ohio State over that hump against Michigan. And then Penn State, James Franklin has struggled against, top ranked teams throughout his career uh, at Penn State. And we've seen his struggles against Michigan and Harbaugh. Now, of course, The Big Ten is doing away with the East and West Division format this year once they add four new schools from the Pac-12. But nonetheless, if you're Ryan Day and James Franklin, you're more than happy to see Jim Harbaugh leave. So at the end of the day, you look at it and say, what is Harbaugh's legacy at Michigan? I mean, in his 9 years there, he rebuilt that program and once again made them winners. And Harbaugh has won every single step of the way. You think about what he did at San Diego, took the Stanford job and quickly got them turned around. And by his last year there, Stanford was in the Orange Bowl. And not only were they in the Orange Bowl, they destroyed a good Virginia Tech team in that contest. Of course, going to the San Francisco 49ers with what he did there. And then at Michigan, I mean, he got Michigan right back on track from day one. He led them to a 10-win season and a win in the Citrus Bowl. His problem was against the top 10 teams. And he just kept chipping away and building his program piece by piece by piece. And eventually he was able to get over that hump. And I think he's going to do the same with the Chargers because it's one of those where it's all about the culture change. And this Chargers organization for a very long time has been in desperate need of a culture change because you think about it, the Chargers over the years have had a who's who of talented players, but the Chargers keep finding a way not to make the most out of that talent, and they keep finding a way to come up short in those crucial situations and those crucial contests. Jim Harbaugh is going to change that, and if he thinks that some guys that are currently there right now can't get it done for him. Guess what? He's going to go out there and bring in other people because Harbaugh is now going to sit back. They're going to get a Harbaugh friendly general manager. The Chargers still have a general manager opening. And it's not going to be a Trent Baalke situation like it was with the 49ers because, of course, we know Trent Baalke and Jim Harbaugh were butting heads. And then, of course, it ultimately resulted in Jim Harbaugh leaving and going back to college to Michigan. And of course, Balky didn't last that much longer in San Francisco either. This time around, Jim Harbaugh is bringing more juice, more cachet, more power to the table, and the Chargers know that. So now it's all about everybody being on board with him, and it's a situation where the Spanos family is going to give him the green light to shape this organization in his own image. He's going to, excuse me, assemble his coaching staff, find those people, find that personnel that fits what he does. So if you're the Chargers and if you're a Chargers fan, this is a big day for you. So you look at Harbaugh and the Chargers, and the question is going to be, are they going to be able to live up to the expectations? Because the expectations for this team have changed immediately. And I say this because, with the Chargers, it's always basically been accepted. Yeah, you know what? They've got talent, but they can't find a way to get it done. Now, no, 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 no. The talent is there, and you're going to have to live up to that talent if you're the Chargers, and you're going to have to push through and persevere to do the things in order to win. So, with that said, are the Chargers themselves ready for Harbaugh? Because Harbaugh is a guy who's going to work, and he's going to work his teams as well, and he's going to grind you. And he, again, like I said, he's going to find the guys that fit his system. And if all of the guys that are currently on the Chargers don't fit into that mold, then guess what? He's going to ship them out of there and he's going to find people that can do that. So I look at it right now. This is what the Chargers needed. I think this was the perfect fit for Jim Harbaugh. And I said that before because this was a team that needed a head coach as well as a general manager. And I think that was big because now, Harbaugh, with all of his, what he brings to the table, he's going to want to have some say in personnel decisions. And now you're going to go out there and get a general manager who's on the same wavelength with Jim Harbaugh. So I think this has the opportunity for some success with this team. You got a lot of talent in place. Now it's all about getting the coach, and you have the coach that is going to be able to cultivate and take that talent to the next level. Things changed very quickly in LA for the Chargers, and let's see what the results look like in the coming season. I know people are going to immediately talking about Jim Harbaugh in the Super Bowl. Might not happen right away, but I think he is going to make this team a contender much sooner rather than later. So let's see how things are going to look with the Los Angeles Chargers with Jim Harbaugh now leading the way. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.